right, well, welcome back to another edition of Inside BBI with John and Eric. I'm John McDevitt, and with me, as always, senior editor of Big Blue Interactive, Mr. Eric Kennedy. Eric, we are coming off, and this is something we have not been able to say in a very, very long time. 2 wins. We're feeling good. So before we get to that, I know you're probably drinking the same thing that you have been.
Yes,
but
and they call me mid-drink. Well, that's why I'm smiling. I was calling. Hey, what are you wearing there, John?
I am wearing some of the official swag, our merchandise. This is our Inside BBI t-shirt. I got a sweatshirt that just came in. I'm waiting for my glass and a mug and another shirt that I ordered. So that, but I am drinking though, real quick, because I did.
That shirt makes you look hot, John. I mean, I don't know. Everyone should get one.
I would say
go out and run.
They're going to sell out if you. I mean, you're in the. You could be the last one today.
Yeah, they're limited. It's a limited edition. Sure. Anyways,
so with that, with the shameless plug that I put at the end of the intro, I'm drinking a Lazy Magnolia Brewing Company Southern Pecan American Brown Ale. Yes, it's part of that whole grouping of beers that I bought before, so I got to make my way through it. So that being said, before we get to the games and stuff, and the plays, the players, all that stuff. Something came out a little while ago. I don't know how legitimate it is. I don't know if you saw it already, but word on the street from what I was hearing. Record? Yeah, well, that part did not come out. Word on the street was, though, that there has been or is talk ramping up of teams interested with in the Giants for Jameis Winston.
What? Where did that?
I've seen it on Twitter in a couple different spots that interest in Winston has been,
Twitter. No.
Again, exactly. So I'm just saying to you, how legitimate do you think that is, considering where the Giants are and the fact that they do have legitimately 4 quarterbacks that could play in the NFL? What do you think?
What's the source, though? Where are you seeing this?
It was 2 different ones. One was a Bobby Spence, which I've seen him post a few other things before, and he has a decent number of followers. Doesn't seem to be a crazy guy who just posts stuff. And then I can't remember the other source off the top of my head. But I'm just saying, to you, any legitimacy that you feel right now that teams might be? Because there are some teams out there. Dallas is one team that I don't.
Quarterback.
They've got some problems in the back.
Can we slow down on the Joe Milton shit?
Oh, thank you.
All right. So again, I know a lot of people, and again, I was one of these people that said maybe late round thing, but I remember seeing lots of people. Boy, we really screwed the pooch by not getting Joe Milton. Okay, so anyways,
slow the roll.
Tap the brakes on that. So anyways, look, they've got 4 quarterbacks. They're going to get rid of one. The question is, do either the 2 make it to the practice squad? They're not going to put Jameis Winston on the practice squad. So would DeVito make it to the practice squad? I don't know. If the perfect world, you cut DeVito, he gets to the practice squad, but I don't know if he makes it there. I mean, if you're Dallas or some other team that has somebody like a Milton, don't you take DeVito over him?
Oh, without a doubt.
So the question is this: how important is it for Shane to have Jameis Winston be the backup quarterback next year? You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So he's under a 2-year contract. So if their vision is to have him as the backup to Dart next year, then they would keep him. But if they are not particularly wed to him, then again, it comes down to the compensation too, right?
But, I would think so, for sure.
And it also depends on what your theory and my theory was, discussion was about, is Dart the number 2 quarterback on this team? Not the. We know he's the heir apparent.
Future. Yes.
We know they're going, if the crap hits the fan, he's going to be the starter. But as you and I have talked, do they still not want to force feed him early in the season? If they're don't have a problem with that, then why is Winston even on the team at this point? So, right? Because if you're getting your 3rd quarterback anyways, you're kind of up.
I think if you're living on the argument that the Giants signed Winston to not put Dart in this spot, I'm just going to kind of remind you that Jameis Winston was signed before they signed Russell Wilson. At the time, the Giants did not know what their quarterback room was ultimately going to be. I don't think, I can't believe I'm saying this, I don't think Tommy DeVito would make it through to our practice squad. The Rams right now have a very big question mark with Matthew Stafford. Do they go into a season with a injury-prone Jimmy Garoppolo and then a Stetson Bennett who's played no downs in the NFL so far since he's come out of college, as your only 2 quarterbacks on that team, you're probably going to be looking for somebody else. Dallas is not happy with Joe Milton, from what I heard.
And I don't think the Ravens are happy with Cooper Rush either, right?
I would think that there's a few teams. I mean, so Cleveland announced today that Joe Flacco is starting
twice, by the way.
Well, I know. Well, I mean, again.
God damn it.
It does feel
Rush beat the Giants twice.
It is embarrassing. Sorry. But that's just, I mean, that's just a couple of teams. But there are other teams out there that are, the Saints would be another one. They're razor thin at quarterback. Shuck, if that's how he's pronounced his name, it's so weird to say it that way, has been borderline bad in training camp so far.
I know he threw a pick 6, but I didn't know how he's been doing.
Yeah, there's been some other things I've been reading up on, some things about him. There's just so many things out there that I can't imagine that a Tommy DeVito, who's played in the NFL, 1 actual games, has a plus touchdown to interception ratio in the league, would not just people just let him go and not bring him in as a third.
I'm trying to trade one of the two. I'm trying to trade one of the two, and it's Paul Kelly just posted. It comes down to the compensation offer. Christ, if someone's offering you a 3rd-round draft pick for Jameis Winston, I would trade him and get another veteran next offseason. Then you get your 3rd back that you gave up for the Dart trade. You know what I mean?
Would you look for draft compensation, or would you look for a vet at a spot that you need some help?
Either.
Okay, just curious.
But I don't think anyone's going to give us a 3rd for Jameis. If someone offers a 3rd for Jameis, I think you got to do it. Look, I like Jameis. I like his personality. I think he's fun, but he is who he is. And as Cy pointed out in his game review, which is up now on bigblueinteractive.com, but as Cy, he is who he is. You see the good and the bad. You saw the great deep throw he threw to Dallin Combre, and then you saw like him being completely dysfunctional in the red zone that series there. So again, I think he's got an emotional impact on his team. I think the team would be sad to see him go. So part of it is you have to give me something attractive. I don't know if I'm moving him if it's a 7th rounder, but that's me. And the other thing, again, we might get some other, there's two. It's interesting. Are we overrating our own players, which is what we tend to do?
Sure, absolutely.
Plus, there are other people on the website. Now, I want to talk about this too. There are people on the website who are absolutely convinced that no one would ever be interested in any of our players, and I don't think that's true anymore. I think the roster quality has gotten noticeably better on this team, and I want to get this out today, guys. This has been a weird 2 days in my view for Giants fans out there. I don't know what you guys are doing. Be happy right now. We may not be happy during the regular season, but be happy right now. We just scored 65 points in 2 preseason games. I know the preseason doesn't mean anything, but we only scored 30 points all preseason last year, 10 a game. Daniel Jones is not here anymore. The talent on this team is going up. We have a bitch of a schedule. We may not win that many games this year, but this team is moving in the right direction. And you can see that people are afraid to actually be a little bit positive. So I went to the website after the game, the day after the game, it was crickets. I'm like, where is everybody? Where's the talk about Dart? Where's the talk about Bo Collins? Where's the talk about, all the stuff that's going on? And it was crickets. And then there were threads like, bitching about this, bitching about that. And I'm like, am I watching the same team right now? So anyways, I just be happy, because we might not be happy in the regular season, but at least be a little happy right now. Things are good right now. People are looking at the Giants that aren't Giants fans, and they're looking at them and they're saying, oh, what? I saw a video yesterday, some guy who said, I didn't think Jackson Dart was a 1st-round draft pick, but I was wrong. The people are starting to say things like that, who didn't think he was a good pick. And again, we don't know if he's going to. It's going to take a few years. We don't know if Jaden Daniels is going to be a good player. I think he will. But again, you never know. RG3, when he came out, we thought we were going to be dealing with him forever.
Right.
And we didn't. So we'll have to wait and see. But just be a little bit happy right now. So that's my vent. I'm venting right now.
No. And it's funny, too, because I had a whole thing I wanted to bring up, and it's along those lines. When I read Cy's review, right? And I really wish I was on for me to say this to him, because I don't want to say it like I'm just saying because he's not here. I was actually a little surprised that he and I get it, he kind of slowed the roll slightly on Dart by bringing up something. And I thought about it for a little bit, and I'm like, It's the first time that I've seen where we've actually had to look for reasons to not be as super excited versus the other way around where we would look for those little glimmers in things like, oh, he was 5 of 12, but there were a couple of drops and, the protection wasn't that good, but those other 5 were really good. This is the opposite. A whole bunch was good, and we're going, okay, well, maybe it's a little vanilla. Let's just dial it back. It's funny how it's kind of reversed. We're almost trying to bring the happiness part in check versus us trying to find reasons to be happy. So, and I do think people suffer from, it's that sort of beat down for 10 years. It's hard to get out of it. I get it. You're hard to, even when your eyes don't necessarily, you're like, I can't believe what I just saw.
Right. So I saw a lot of breakdown videos, and the Jets ran a lot of quarters coverage against Jackson Dart. So they kept it very basic. Okay. But he was 14 of 16, 13 in a row. They were very accurate, I felt, throws for the most part.
Yes.
And he threw to the right people. So a lot of it is, are you throwing to the right guy? Is the throw accurate? And so I get the thing. And Cy brought up a very good point that his so a lot of his passes have been short passes. But one of the knocks coming out of college was, their whole offense is skewed to this thing to get these single matchups on deep balls. And if you try to do other things with him, he can't do it because he can't process it because he didn't have to do that in college. Well, right now he's looking over the field and he's making the right decisions, and he's not always going with the first guy. So does that, again, I've said for the last couple of weeks, he's going to have bad games. He's going to have bad moments. And when he does, you guys are going to freak out because that's what Giant fans do. But this is beyond my expectation at this level. I didn't think he would be 13. And look, the Jets were playing press coverage a lot of times on our wide receivers that aren't really that good. So it wasn't like he was throwing to Malik Nabers out there and even Darius Slayton and Wandell. He's throwing to other guys. So anyway, let's talk about Dart first since we're on this. I think a lot of people are giving him credit, but I think a lot of people are afraid to give him credit. One of my pet peeves right now is this. The people that are saying, well, Daniel Jones' first preseason game was awesome. Yeah. All right, let's move beyond that. Daniel Jones and Jackson Dart do not look like the same player. I'm sorry. They just don't.
Right.
As John has said over and over again, I'm going to say this, trust your eyes, but John has said over and over again, Daniel has always been very robotic. He was a very robotic player. And yes, he did. The big knock on him in his first year was he was making nice throws, but he couldn't hold on to the football when he got sacked. He had a record number of fumbles. And we all said at the time, if he just cleans up the fumbling stuff, maybe he'll turn out into a good quarterback. But it was never better after that. I don't get that vibe with Jackson. Could I be wrong? Yes. We don't know how he's going to end up. But I said during the game, and I rewatched the game, and I'll keep saying it. He is not getting, this isn't too big for him. He comes out there and he seems completely comfortable and focused, and he doesn't play scared. I think he was a little amped up for the Bills. I think he was running sometimes too soon, but I don't think that was out of fear. I just think his brain was going a million miles a minute, but it's starting to slow down for him. And again, if he's doing this now, just imagine what he'll be like in 3 years if he stays healthy and he remains committed to the game. So holy crap. If the Giants got Abdul Carter and their franchise quarterback in one draft, that's like getting Phil Simms and Lawrence Taylor in the same draft. Again, I don't want to go. Again, I'm not comparing them because those guys are legends, but I'm just saying we might be looking at that right now. What we haven't seen is, oh my God, why did we trade up in the first round and draft this guy? He's horrible. We haven't run into that yet.
So first off, one of the things I didn't like about when I said that about the checkdowns, some of those we're throwing short passes, they're screen passes, something we have not been very good at all. And now with him, those are very good passes. Those are very good plays. The play that really caught my attention in this past game, there were really two, but the one that really caught my attention that he did something that I don't think we've had at quarterback for quite a while. The rush is coming through. He steps back. The guy's getting in. He brings his arm down low and throws that short pass to Johnson.
Oh
Daniel
yeah, where
Jones,
he went
yeah,
sort of
almost sidearm.
And now remember, now combine that with the screen pass in the first game where we kind of lofted it up over. Remember,
Right.
the rusher was coming. Anyway, sorry.
Yeah. So what I'm saying is Daniel Jones never could have done that ever.
No.
His throws are the same way, no matter where he's throwing it. It's the same thing. Jackson Dart can do things, as they say, off schedule. He can get off platform. He can move around. He didn't even move his whole body. He just dropped his arm. Big Blue made a really good point. There's instincts with Jackson Dart. Daniel Jones was always he was the book reader. He was the knowledge guy that says, this is how the play's supposed to go. And what he did, though, is as soon as that first guy wasn't open, he looked for the guy, the short check down guy, and it's usually the guy who's already turned around and facing him, and the play's over instantly. Jackson Dart's short passes are getting guys out into the open. They're making moves. There was only one that I think got stopped, and that was the Juice Wells one to the left where he got stopped right off. But all his passes have been – the other pass that I was impressed with that other quarterbacks have done, but it's still really good for a rookie, was the fake pitch to the outside, the touchdown pass to Dulcich. The fake pitch, the safety's still back there, but he's eyeing where he wants to go with the ball, keeping the safety locked up for that second. The throw is perfect. It's right on time. And as Cy said, he couldn't have thrown it any better than that.
Right.
That was beautiful.
But it looked natural. What I mean is it looked like it could have been a real fake. I mean, a real play, right? It wasn't like you're not selling anybody on that. It's just a smoothness, the Darts game. And again, if he plays on Thursday and he has a shitty game, I'm still not going to be off the bandwagon at this point. He's exceeding my expectations right now. Remember, you and I did the draft. I was like, all right, if we're going to draft a quarterback, I don't really want to give up that much to get him. Right now, I think there are some teams in the NFL right now that are going, maybe we shouldn't have passed on Jackson Dart.
Yeah.
Is Pittsburgh one of those teams? I mean, is Pittsburgh having buyer's remorse now? Anyway, we'll get into that later. But the story of the game to me after rewatching it too was Jackson Dart, and I don't think Cy made him a stud. Did he? I don't think but he would have been my first stud in the game. Would have been.
Yeah, I don't remember.
I have to go back and look. But Jackson Dart to me was the story of the game, and he was playing against a very respectable Jets defense that which includes their second team players. I just think it was 13 in a row, 2 scoring drives, boom, 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 right down the field. I don't know how you come away from that game and go, wow, that was a wow game to me. The other thing that stood out to me again is the offensive line. And people are starting to nitpick this a little bit, and I get it. So one of the nitpicks is James Hudson at left tackle. They say, there was one pass rush in particular, the one where Jackson tried to scramble to his right, and they had an open field, and he got caught from behind. Hudson got completely turned around on that play. That was a really bad rep for him. I don't think you want James Hudson against Micah Parsons in week 2. I think that's a little fraught with peril. However, James Hudson was signed to be the in case of emergency break glass guy. And to date, he's actually not been a train wreck. In the past, the people that we've rolled out there have been train wrecks. So the expectation level has to be a little bit dialed back a little bit. James Hudson's exceeded my expectations, not because he's been super good. It's just when they signed him, I thought, well, he didn't seem to do that much in Cleveland, and no one seemed to be very high on him. He came in here and he's played the entire spring and summer, and he hasn't been a disaster. When we were in the 2 previous off seasons and we were in in training camp and in the preseason, our backup left tackle were always getting wrecked. And James Hudson's not getting wrecked. Is he perfect? No, but he's not getting wrecked. And the other guys that were rolling out there, I'm going to throw something out there right now. I said on the site today, I think Josh Azudu is outplaying Evan Neal. And I think maybe one of the regrets I have with the coaching staff is not giving Josh Azudu a chance to start this year. I feel better about Josh Azudu right now based on the 2 games he's played than I do about Evan Neal. I don't think Evan Neal played poorly on Saturday. I just think Josh Azudu has played better. And I think Josh Azudu is going to be easier to re-sign than Evan Neal. And I'm not sure I would re-sign Evan Neal at this point. That's my take.
I rewatched the game in the condensed version, and then I watched a bunch of the all 22. Evan Neal still has a problem where he does not redirect quickly. He's awkward, which is weird when you remember coming out. Some of the stuff they would show him jumping up on these stacked mats and doing splits and all this other stuff, and he was so athletic. And I truly believe that those couple of lower body injuries have kind of changed that slightly. He was off on one where he pulled to block, so he was sliding over on, I think it was on a pass rush, and he slides over and he basically bumps into the guy. He doesn't actually bump into him, lock him up, and put him down. He bumps into him and stops his rush enough. The guy still gets around him, but he was really off balance when he got there. A better defensive tackle might just blow right through that when you're kind of stumbling into the guy. So there's a little concern there. And Sai brought it up. As long as he's stuck, as Sai said, in the hallway, right? If you're combined, if you're stuck between the tackle and the center, he's probably good. You get him out in space a little bit. Now you're dealing with that lack of fluidity that he seems to be missing. I do agree. I watched Josh Azudu. He's not the same guy from the last 2 years.
And again, it's 2 games, and we've seen him for 2 years, and so you should probably put the 2 years above the 2 games. But something seems to have clicked. Now he might be one of these guys when the real lights come on, he might completely fall apart again. I don't know, but I look at him, and I know he's always big. He just looks bigger to me, and he just seems. I don't see any panic in him. Whereas with Evan, now let's be fair to Evan. This was Evan's first game.
True.
He did not play last week, and this is his first game at guard since way back in what was his
2020, I believe,
freshman year or his sophomore year. I don't remember. It's been a long time since he's played guard. But I agree with you, and John C. brought this up, which I agreed with him. He didn't do badly. There were 2 plays where I had knocked him down. There was one pass rush, the one where it was the underthrow to Bo Collins on the sideline because Jackson was being hit right away. And there was a run block, which was really weird, where he got shoved into the backfield by the defensive lineman. And I was like, that shouldn't happen to Evan Neal. That blew up the entire running play. I don't remember if it was Tracy or if it was Miller or whoever it was, but it blew up the whole play. But those were the 2 negative plays I had on him. But I did agree with John C. in this, that I want him to sustain a little bit more. So he got on his guy, and sometimes he did drive him, but sometimes the guy fell off. The guy he was blocking fell off of him and made the tackle. And what was weird, what you were bringing up, they did a couple times. I don't know if you noticed this. They did a short pull with him a couple of times, even on passing plays, where he would come out of and I think that's a little bit of misdirection, but they would pull him to the left to even pass block, which I thought was kind of a weird thing because he doesn't look smooth when he's pulling.
He does not. Not at all.
So
now we might have our answer why they don't bring him in as a third tight end. That he's just out exposed. He just doesn't move the way you would want him to. He needs to be just driving forward if that's what you're going to use him for. So a third tight end puts him outside too much. So I can see why now based on that. But I saw the same thing you did. It just doesn't look right. Whatever it is. I've seen other guys that can pull. They're not as big and bulky, so they're bringing less weight when they get there, but they can move quicker.
He's not. I don't want to sound like I'm knocking him. He had a decent game, especially for his first game. But to me, Josh Azudu, to me, has been the more impressive player. And to answer Paul, I'm not saying he starts. I'm saying if you're looking for someone to come off the bench, if somebody gets hurt, he can play. Again, John and I said a few months ago, don't ever put Josh Azudu back at left tackle again.
And now he might.
And now he's so far so good, but at very least left guard. And I will say this, and Sai said the same thing. Josh Azudu is kicking ass as a run blocker. He was probably the best run blocking player the Giants had on Saturday. So he can play guard, he can play tackles, which you want for a backup. You want to have a guy that can play both. And Sai said the same thing. You want to have somebody who can do that. And if this continues like in practice throughout the season, I re-sign Josh Azudu, and Josh Azudu is competing for a starting spot next year when Greg Van Roten's probably retiring. To me, that doesn't mean you give that spot to him, but Josh Azudu, I think, is earned the right to compete for a starting spot at least next year.
And even more applicable to right now is the fact that we still don't know what's going on with Andrew Thomas. We don't know that he's going to be activated. That's still a question mark. You're going to want a guy. So Azudu brings the one good thing, and we've talked about this numerous times. I've mentioned it numerous times. It's position versatility. The Giants are going to have guys. You really want your backup guys to be able to play more than one position.
Right.
Then you don't need to have, like, especially if a guy can play center. That's Van Roten. He can back up center. He's a guard. He can back up center. If someone else would win the right guard spot, that would be huge for us. Now you don't need a traditional center as a backup. But either way, tackle guard combos are huge too, because I don't want strictly guard guys on the team eating up spots at a position that you could easily have. Thomas could be, even if he comes off, right? He could be limited. They might actually keep some of his play time down. Like, okay, we're not going to let him play more than 45 plays, for the first 2 weeks or whatever it might be. We got to get other guys out there. One guy gets hurt, that changes everything. I need a guy that can play multiple spots. I think you're right. I think Azudu, I was surprised Bobby Skinner thought Azudu would be the odd man out. Right now, I think the Giants would ultimately look at it and go, if it came down to Azudu and Neal, I don't think that we take Neal.
Well, the pecking order suggests that they're going to do Neal first, but I wouldn't. That's where I am right now. To me, right now, I think, again, look, the coaches know more than I do, but based on what I've seen from 2 games so far, again, Neal didn't play in the first game, so that's part of it. But right now, when I watch Azudu play, I can't believe he's the same player. And so that's where I'm at right now. I will give Cy a credit to this, something I've been kind of afraid to say, because I didn't want to stick my nose out there, but he did. Schlottman's playing pretty well at center. So if you really want a true center and you don't like John Michael Schmitz, and I think John Michael Schmitz has played pretty well these first 2 games. I think if you go back and watch him, you guys will actually be pleased with he's playing. But if you don't trust him and you want to have a backup, and John Michael Schmitz has been somewhat injury prone since he's been here. Right. Schlottman has been very consistent in the preseason. I didn't realize they were actually gave him some snaps at guard too. So he's another guy that I thought he was strictly a center. So it looks like he's got some versatility too. So he's another guy that could be a sneaky guy where Schlottman makes the 53 and some of us are like, whoa, where did that come from? So Cy brought it up today. He deserves credit for it. But Schlottman, to me, in the 2 preseason games has been very steady. When he's in there, that's the story that, to me, that's some of the story of the preseason. It doesn't matter who's been out there. It seems like for the most part they've held up pretty well. I must have been watching, and again, when I got to the second half of the game, my schedule was pressed this week, so I didn't watch the fourth quarter in the late. I didn't watch the fourth quarter as closely as I should have. But when Forsythe was in there at right tackle, I thought he was doing all right. I didn't feel like they were like coming in like gangbusters.
Right.
I really nailed them, so I must have missed something on Forsythe. But I just think the line, it hasn't been a jailbreak. We've given up 2 sacks in 2 games, none in the first game on 51 pass attempts, and one of the sacks on Saturday was Jameis Winston holding onto the ball too long. That wasn't on the offensive line. And I think the other one was I think they counted it as a sack, was the Jackson Dart one where Hudson did get beat. And I think that was the other sack, but I'm not 100% sure about it.
I think you're right on that. There were a couple plays though that I wanted to kind of point out that you could see why Greg Van Roten is the starter, why it would take something really Herculean from somebody else right now. There were a couple of times that you watch him and there's a difference between an all-world athlete and a guy who knows everything he has to do. Yeah. And Van Roten was doing a couple of combos. He comboed with John Michael Schmitz, broke off the combo immediately, moved out to help out on the outside. You can see that. Go back and watch early on. Watch in the all 22 if you can from the backside on. I think it was either the run before the throw or it was the throw to Bo Collins. Watch Illuminor twitch his fingers over as Van Roten looks at him, and they twitch his fingers, and you see almost like a little nod from Van Roten on what those two were communicating with each other on what was about to happen, and then you just see them wall off the side. It was great, just quick nonverbal communication. Was awesome to pick that up. And they played together before. We've talked about that before. You can just see why I thought in the offseason that they would bring him back. They want that veteran presence. They want that guy who knows what he's doing, keep everything kind of in check. But I was really impressed. I wanted to bring up Hudson. You mentioned him. Did you look closely on after the 80-yard pass, we get the first down play on the goal line?
By the way, did you see the pass protection on that play?
That was
I get
just
all the time in the world.
he could have thrown it to a couple of different people if he wanted to.
Yeah.
On the running play, it was a very odd. At first, I had to go back and look at it because I thought the Giants were playing an uneven line. But it wasn't an uneven line. It was that Hudson actually is lined up a little bit further away from the guard, which I've never seen before in goal line.
I didn't notice that.
The good thing that the run was to the other side. We did not score, so that part doesn't matter. Runyon got whipped immediately off the snap. Hudson is nowhere near. Hudson's too far away. The guy goes right between Runyon and Hudson. Whatever they did for alignment, don't ever freaking do that again. It looked bad in goal line to have your tackle. I actually thought he was playing, kind of like, an unbalanced line. I thought he was almost playing off the line itself, but he just left a huge gap between him and the guard. I've never seen it on goal line.
I have to comment on this because this came up today. So it's raining where I am at, and my wife and I went for a walk, and she threw on one of my Giants hats, and I said, "Hey, you want to do the podcast tonight?" And she said, "Sure." She said, "I'll go on there and say, never, ever, ever draft a quarterback from Duke." That's what she said. So she's in line with you, Big Blue. Anyways, yeah. So wrapping this up on the offensive line, again, I think it's been, if you're going to nitpick, you're going to always find something. The other team plays too. The other team has athletes too. If you're a Jets fan and you watch the Giants score 31 points on you and you found out your quarterback couldn't do crap against you, you'd be very depressed today. Be happy. If you're going to nitpick, you're always going to find somebody, even the great Giants teams, the great lines. I could show, John and I can show you a play where Lawrence Taylor got blindsided by the Eagles on a cheap shot. It's the one where remember they ended up taking out the Eagles quarterbacks because the defense was so pissed. But everyone was making a big deal this week about Abdul Carter getting knocked on his ass. I can show you plays where Lawrence Taylor got knocked on his ass. So, again, you can always nitpick stuff, but the Giants in 2 preseason games have done well. Again, does it matter anything? No. Does it really matter in the grand scheme of things? No. But they look competent. And they look competent at places that we were kind of worried about. Offensive line, quarterback. So there are areas that John and I are going to talk about right now that were negatives or places to worry about. But some of the stuff, you guys be kind of happy about. So
do you remember, since you brought up something like that, do you remember back when Charles Haley played for the 49ers?
Yep, sure.
1991 opening game, Monday Night Football. Late in the game, the Giants are trying to pick up a third and I believe 3rd and 5. And it ends up being a pitch to Meggett. Coming in motion towards the line, though, is Mark Ingram. Mark Ingram absolutely unloads on Charles Haley. Literally, they had to come out and get him and bring him off the field. Right. I mean, he literally, now would be a blindside block.
Right.
Shit happens. It happens in games where one of those guys gets hit where they don't expect to get hit and they get taken out. I watched a number of plays, and we'll talk about it later, that I saw Abdul Carter play very physical, strong in runs coming right at him, something I was a little concerned about.
I didn't know he had that in his game. I hope you guys saw the clips of Abdul Carter. I didn't notice it in the game because John and I are doing this live during the game. I'm trying to keep one eye on the TV. I'm trying to talk and read comments at the same time. I didn't see it until other people pointed out, holy crap. A couple of plays there, he was almost like Carl Banks holding the point of attack, setting the edge.
Right.
There was that one play where it was like, I didn't know he had that in him. I didn't know he had that kind of power in his game. Did you? I didn't.
I was surprised because, one of the things they say is that he's a little bit lighter for an edge. He's a little lighter. He doesn't look that light, by the way, but he was forcibly in there taking on guards and tackles in the run game. I was impressed to see that. Now, we'll get to something else that I saw, and you already pointed it out earlier in BBI, so we'll get to that. But let's stay on the offensive side for now.
Okay, sorry.
No, you're good. What wide receiver? Let's start.
That's one of my areas of concern. That's one of my areas of concern.
Do you think now? There's been a lot of talk about Smith Marset didn't play, and then Duggan brought up the fact that maybe the kick return part is actually not settled. Of the 2 guys that didn't play, supposedly that had nothing to do with injury, which were Gano and Smith Marset. Gano's already guaranteed his spot, so that seems pretty in line. I almost wonder if Smith Marset is already guaranteed the return part of it. The Giants are trying to see if they have anybody else who can actually play receiver who has return skills, because that's your other way of also making a team, because you got to have somebody who can back those guys up.
I don't know. So when I saw he was not deactivated. When he did not play, I thought, uh-oh, that is not a good sign for him. He was a healthy scratch. And they asked the coaches about it. And they were saying kind of what you just said. We know what he can do as a returner. I think it was the special teams coach today, but I may be mistaken. But
I think you're right.
Special teams coach. We know what he could do today. We didn't need to put him in that spot. We want to look at others. I'm not so sure. So I'm not so sure his place. I said this the other day. I didn't know Gunner could be this effective as a wide receiver. Now, when I say effective, I mean just competent. He's not going to scare anybody when you put him out there. But I didn't know. I thought he was just a returner. I didn't think he could actually be somebody that you could put out there and run routes and catch passes. And he's done that consistently now. Now, remember, he wasn't even on the team a couple of weeks ago until Bryce Ford-Wheaton got hurt. They only brought him. Right, they brought him back as a Bryce Ford. He wasn't even on the team. And right now, I think he's kind of ahead of some of the other guys at wide receiver on this team. So I didn't when they signed Gunner, I said, "Oh, come on, he's just a camp body, guys," because people were like going, "Oh, Gunner's got a shot," and I'm like, "Oh, don't give me a break." I think I might be wrong on that. I think Gunner might. And what I'm saying is, I don't know, John. Does Gunner really have a legitimate chance to replace Smith Marset now? I don't know.
You have to wonder if some of it is what they think they can get from him in as far as the receiving core goes, because the top part of the receiving core is only set really where you know that's the guy. Really 1, 2, maybe 3 if you want to go to Wandell, and I know a lot of people don't agree. It gets really sketchy after Nabers. Slayton's a guy. Slayton's a guy, and he's put up numbers, but you made a great point recently. He disappears for stretches at a time too, though. And
he hasn't made a play this preseason. But now, granted, he hasn't. He didn't play in the opener. I mean, the first preseason game, and I didn't know this. He only played 10 or 12 snaps on Saturday, and so did Hyatt. And we'll get into this. They only were going to schedule, because I know this is one of your favorite topics. They only scheduled Flott to have 10 or 12 snaps, and he ended up playing 18. But the Abel said he was only supposed to play 10 or 12. So they had a pitch count for a lot of players. And he listed on other players. But Slayton, to me, look, they got to have another wide receiver here that when Malik Nabers is going to get doubled, they need another wide receiver not to disappear when Malik Nabers is doubled, or this is going to be kind of easy to defend. All right, sorry, I'm interrupting.
No, because that's where I'm going. So the fourth guy, if all things were equal and it was the way the Giants would want it to be, the fourth guy would be Hyatt, but he has yet to prove anything. The one catch was good. The pitch count is weird, and they still don't tell you why. Flott, we know, was coming off another injury, and your big thing was they're probably not going to play him the way, because I brought up, well, they do the same thing to him that they did to Banks, make him play a whole bunch. Let's see what he can do. They didn't. They pulled him out, way earlier than what they did for Banks. You're probably right, though. A, coming off injury. B, they know he does get nicked up. They don't want to risk it.
Are you talking Hyatt?
In this case, I was talking about Flott.
I'm talking about both.
No, but Hyatt's thing, though, we still don't know why he wasn't practicing.
And you and I were like, play him half the game. And so, but they had him in a pitch count. They had him on a 10-play, 12-play pitch count. He said 10 to 12-play pitch count for Hyatt, Slayton, Cordell. Wandell only got 7 snaps. They said they only needed 7 snaps on him. So some of this is the players weren't in there. So again, I don't want to overreact, and we still haven't seen them a full game with a real quarterback. But that's where I'm a little bit nervous. I know they're going to double Wandell. I would, and I would say, Slayton, you beat us. And that's what I'm a little bit worried about. And Wandell, you beat us. And I agree with Cy on almost everything he writes all the time. But one thing I did catch him a little, if you're listening, Cy, out there, a little inconsistency. You said today in your game review that you've always kind of been down on Wandell. He wasn't one of your favorite guys. There are game reviews that you've written in the past where you've said that he's a real weapon, and they just need to get him a quarterback. I'm just going to point that outside. You kind of flip-flopped on him a little bit. Maybe not when he was coming out in the draft. I think a lot of us didn't think he should have been drafted where he was. And Wan'Dale is another one of those guys. You can't drop that pass. Again, I thought that pass hung a little bit, but catch that ball. You got to, and as Cy did bring up, if that was a real game, we would have been kind of going, that was a drive killer there. That was a big deal dropping that pass there. So these guys got to step up. I don't know what they're going to do with Hyatt. I get the sense Hyatt's on this team, but I don't know why. It's just a gut feeling. I have nothing to base it on, but I just think, because why did you have him on a pitch count? I mean, almost it seems like they were thinking, well, we know what he can do,
saving him.
So we're saving him. I mean, that's what it reeks to me. So that to me was a little weird. And the other thing too, and I posted a thread on this with Bo Collins. Has Bo Collins moved ahead of Hyatt? And again, on the pecking order, you would have to think so, but I don't think that miscommunication helped him in the short term with Wilson. I think that could make the coaches a little nervous. Again, if you're playing Washington, you're playing Dallas in week 1 and week 2, you don't really want your wide receiver. And this gets back to what you were talking about with Greg Van Roten.
The trust.
Do you want somebody who's running stunts on you up front, not knowing how to pick up a stunt, when Greg Van Roten knows how to pick up a stunt and won't get discombobulated with stuff like that? Because they're going to remember, we're on the road. The crowd's going to be going crazy. It's going to be a tight game. Probably both games are going to be tight. You don't want to screw up. So I think Greg Van Roten starts, and I'm thinking Bo Collins has a lot of potential, but I'm not sure you put Bo Collins in there.
There you go.
What? Oh, there, yeah. All right. So, Dave, you have to admit there have been game reviews you have written where you have said he's a real weapon and they need to get him the ball more. You have done that in the past. So I'm just pointing that out. So
he jumps right in there. Stealth mode until that moment. Nice. There we go.
Because when I read your comment today, I was like, hey, wait a minute. You were on the bandwagon at one point. So
now to his credit, though, he did say one of the things he pointed out was coming out in the draft, his measurables are some of the worst or better yet, smallest for a receiver. He's short. Yeah. He's got short arms. Yeah. So that part, but yeah.
And Cy used to say repeatedly that he needed a quarterback that would give him the ball accurately because of that catch radius. Because and Daniel Jones wasn't that guy. Yeah. And well, Dave, also too, again, if Dave is out there too, our draft expert, he's got me hooked on these draft simulators, which I've already started for. Anyway, by the way, I can start talking draft picks with you already. I have been doing draft picks where I draft a slot receiver because I don't think I bring Wan'Dale back at this point. Now, again, we may be having a different conversation at the end of this year. But I'm not sure Wan'Dale is. I'm not sure the Wan'Dale is the guy that you want moving forward. We'll have to see. But he just hasn't delivered the goods to date. But we'll have to see what he does with Wilson and Dart as quarterback.
So we're going to talk about this part later. But keep the pitch count thing in the back of your head because I want to revisit that when we talk about other positions.
Yeah.
The Hyatt pass, though, the Hyatt completion, he takes off in a full sprint, breaks down, does a quick turn and come back. That's something we haven't seen him do. He basically, was able to come out down speed and get out of his break and come back. Made a good catch. So I pointed that out in the review. I wanted to see more, though, right? When you put receivers on a pitch count, it's a little weird because unless you're throwing them the ball, they're pretty much not involved in plays other than just running. So,
but can we go back just for what you just said too? Why was he able to do that too? Because the defensive back is scared to death of his deep speed. And I think that's what Cy was getting at in his game review. He was basically kind of saying he brings something to the table that the other receivers, Malik has it, but again, my problem is this, and I shouldn't be doing this. I keep having images of that Alabama-Tennessee game where Jalen just went off. Yeah. And I'm like, God damn it, just do that. He still hasn't scored a touchdown in the NFL. Right.
However, had we had Russell Wilson back in
Yes, I know. You always bring up
23. Well, that pass that's a touchdown against the Cardinals if Jones just freaking throws it down there. I mean, but yes, you're right.
Yeah.
We haven't seen much of any. And the worst part is his play is declining. It's not like he's put up better numbers, but he still just hasn't, not great, but just better. It's not getting better. It's getting worse. Right. I mean, if we want to talk about Wan'Dale not producing and stuff like that, the guy had over 100 targets. He had 93 receptions. I don't care that he's not putting up a ton. Right. Jalen Hyatt can't get more than, like, last year. What did he have? 20 targets, 25 targets total? Right. It's pathetic at this point. And again, we don't know what's wrong with him. If he has a hamstring problem, you're probably not calling that play for him sprinting down the field, break down really hard, and come back.
I just brought that up because I thought it was weird. I didn't know Slayton played. And I even had to change that for Si's game review today because David didn't know he had played either, because I didn't know he had played, but he played, but he only was on a pitch count again. He was in the game. He just, I didn't notice him. Dave didn't notice him. And I don't think many of us noticed him because we were focused on Bo and he was in and out of that game. So anyway, so my concern with wide receiver is this, is I just, again, it's we've gotten Nabers. We're hoping that a better quarterbacking will make Wan'Dale and Slayton not disappear for long stretches or be more. Look, let's be honest too. Wan'Dale had a ton of catches and a ton of targets last year. He had ridiculous number of targets. He just didn't do much with the ball in his hands after the catch. But to be fair to him, a lot of these throws were like 2-yard, 3-yard throws, and they were asking him to gain 7 yards to the first down, which drove me nuts as well too. So, yeah, Dave, sometime we do have to have you talk draft early because the college schedule. We can talk about Lemon at wide receiver, Mekhi Lemon. We can talk about Jordan Tyson. We can talk about some of these guys that I'm starting to watch. So, anyways, okay. So, what should we do? Tight ends? Because I know everyone wants to talk defense. Everyone wants to talk about run defense, and we got to talk about.
But I think we should go tight ends because that is going to really determine. I don't think running back has anything to do with this. I think the wide receiver is going to determine how many tight ends they ultimately carry. If the Giants feel like they don't have quality after 5 at wide receiver, you're not just going to put another guy on there just so you can have a 6th or 7th wide receiver who doesn't going to do anything and get rid of a tight end that you think is going to be a weapon. I think the Giants right now have a legitimate decision to make. It's not obvious of who of their tight ends, and is it 3 or is it 4? I'm going to start and say, I think it's 4. What do you think?
Si's on your page. He thinks Bellinger's probably has a chance to be knocked off this roster.
Thank you, Si.
Si's with you. So, and I don't necessarily disagree. I would feel a little bit better with Bellinger on this roster because I know his floor. I have been very impressed with Greg Dulcich. I've said that his issue has been staying healthy in the league. He had hamstring issues when he was out in Denver. But if he's past those, and remember, we've had tight ends with a hamstring issue recently, Waller. But he looked so smooth on that touchdown catch. I mean, he just looked that. I'm not sure Daniel Bellinger does that for you. So, and if it's, I think Si said this in his game preview, is that Si, I don't know just yet because I'm giving you credit here. I think he said if somebody else shows they can block at a level that Bellinger does, then Bellinger's probably. And now you can go, Si. Si's got he's got a lot of frying pans in the fire. He would have been here with us tonight, coming on here, but he said he's just swamped right now. So hopefully he'll be on soon.
What I think is it's interesting of the makeup, right? So going into it, I would have, and I know I did. I said it multiple times. So I'm giving you back the credit because I said no. And now over the last 4 weeks, I've changed my mind. I thought Dulcich didn't stand a chance. I thought he would be around and he would end up maybe getting cut on the practice squad or whatever, but that he wasn't going to make the team. I don't think, I mean, I easily could be wrong because we don't know what the team really thinks. Duggan came out today and said that he doesn't see Bellinger going anywhere, which is weird because he's the one who
said that. A couple of Giants beat reporters have said Bellinger's not going anywhere.
But he's the one who raised the red flag in the first place and said it's kind of questionable why Bellinger wasn't playing. So I thought that was
why? Well, where did this Bellinger injury come from too? He wasn't on any injury list and he's not playing. And Dan and I think other one writer said no, he was dinged up. Well, when did he get dinged up? Because he was practicing all week. So was he a healthy scratch too? I remember when we were alive, we were like, I was pulling a Milton. I was saying, are there trade talks in discussion here? Look, somebody's going to get cut here that can play. It doesn't mean they can be great, but somebody's going to get cut at tight end that can play. So it's a question whether I personally would hope they would not cut Fedoni, but I don't think he's 100% safe. I don't think he's going to get cut. But he's just 7th round pick. It's not like it'd be the end of the world if they do they feel like they can get him onto the practice squad? Some BBIers have said that they could see him being cut. I'm not predicting that. I'm just saying after Theo Johnson, I'm not sure who makes it and who doesn't. I don't think Chris Manhertz is necessarily complete. If I was a betting person, I would not bet money on any tight end making this roster other than Theo Johnson. So I wouldn't. I just don't know.
See, I'm going to say I'm with Optimus. I don't see the Giants cutting Fedoni.
I don't think they will, but I wouldn't bet my house on it.
I'm beginning to think it is down to Bellinger and Manhertz. I still think it's Bellinger. And I think sometimes the beat writers get a little too in their own heads of we've got this figured out. If you really watch some of the things that the Giants do, though, every year, I think Daboll has a bit of a Belichick in him in a way. Every year they kind of get rid of a guy that you're thinking was going to make the team, and then he didn't make the team. And it's kind of weird because they used him and used him and used him. And he seemed like he was involved. And there's another guy now I'm beginning to think might be being sent a message that we'll talk about shortly. So Bellinger or Manhertz makes the most sense. Why would you get rid of Fedoni? The cheapest option you have. You drafted him. There's a point why you shared a video talking about Dart at the Senior Bowl, and he's throwing passes to Fedoni, a guy you ended up drafting. So there's
I don't think that has anything to do. I don't think that has anything to do with it.
I'm just saying why, because the Giants picked the video that they shared. Why did you share those passes?
I'm not predicting he's going to get cut. I'm just saying I would not be. It would not. I'd be disappointed.
Oh, sure.
I would not be. I would be like, because they're going to cut something. But I mean, like I know a lot of people are dumping on Bellinger right now, but he's not terrible. He's not a bad player. Someone's going to pick him up. I hope whoever we get rid of, we can deal.
But we've had a number of players that were okay for us that weren't bad players that went elsewhere, right? I mean, we had multiple tight ends in 22 that had played for other teams, and then we released them. Hudson was one. We picked him up. We released him.
That was weird. We had
he ends up with the Bengals, and he's been still playing. You know, it's kind of weird.
Some of these guys, I didn't realize they were still playing. I'm like that guy you just mentioned. I was like, he's still playing?
Yeah, it's odd.
Hey, we should move on because.
Are we in agreement that it's going to be 4 though? We think it's going to be 4.
If it's 3, it's going to be a bitch. I mean, it's a bitch right now to get it to 4. How did they get it to 3? I mean,
I think roster makeup too. Like, it's not like you have 10 wide receivers that you're just like, oh man, we gotta cut a couple, but we want to keep all 10. You're barely going to have 6 that you want to keep.
Who would you be your 3 if somebody said, John, you don't get 4, you get 3? Who would you pick for your 3? Theo Johnson, and who are the 2 others?
It would have to. I mean, Jesus. See, the problem is when you do that, now you kind of need one that can actually be the blocker.
Do you though? I mean, is this Manhertz safe?
Well, actually, that's a good point because there's a whole other player in a whole other position that might help there. So I would say if it was only 3 and they told you had to, I can't go against what I already said. It would be Johnson, it would be Fedoni, and it would be Dulcich. You'd have to. They're the weapons.
It's tough. That's tough. All right, so running back, because running back gets into this. I did not think before the preseason started that Turbo Miller would be in conversation for the 53. I thought they'd put him on the practice squad again. I don't think he makes it to the practice squad. I am starting to agree with some people, not as a runner, but as a receiver, that Turbo has way more value right now to the team than Devin Singletary.
Right.
So Devin Singletary to me is the guy that you want to bring in if Tracy gets hurt, and because Scadaboo's out, you want Singletary right now because you want to have somebody to be able to run the ball between the tackles. But right now, if you need a third down back and you need to pick up the first down, we saw it on Saturday. They threw a short pass in the flat to Singletary, and he's a decent player, but he doesn't have the speed and quickness that Turbo does. Right. Turbo, side point, is picked stunning statistics. Turbo's got 11 first downs in this preseason, and 9 of them are through the air. When you throw the ball to Turbo, short of the sticks, he seems to get to the sticks every time he catches the ball. He's just so damn fast. So obviously, pass protection for a running back is gigantic, especially as a third down back. David Maggett played third down because he could pass block. Tony Galbraith played third down back because he could pass block.
Yep.
I don't know what Turble's pass blocking is like, but if you get him the ball in space and he's short of the sticks, I have way more confidence in him getting the first down, maybe than anybody on this team, with the possible exception in terms of running back, of possible exception of Scadaboo. Turbo to me, he's just zip and he gets it, So right now, can they carry 4 running backs? I mean, Scadaboo is probably going to end up on an injury list, right?
He has to. He didn't even do the OTAs.
Right. So your running backs are what? Tracy, Singletary,
and Miller.
Right? And then Scadaboo's on an injury list, and then you're going to have to figure out what you do once Scadaboo's ready, right?
Yeah, I mean, at that point, and some of those decisions might be made for you. Like by the time he's ready to come off, one of your backs might be dinged up or a different position is dinged up, and it doesn't matter, and you can just switch them in and out. I would have to think that's the case, right? Well, let me ask you, would you, at this point, knowing that Scadaboo has not played a single down here during camp in the last couple of weeks, missed OTA stuff, would you want to just activate him suddenly and have him say, okay, I'm going to let him play after 2 hamstring injuries, and technically 3 because he had one before and then re-aggravated it a second time? How is he healthy?
Mike, I'm not singling you out here because everyone's doing it. None of the Giants fans can spell Scadaboo. None of them can. And it's not just you. It happens all the time. Did Carl Banks say this?
I don't remember him saying that.
But that wouldn't make sense. Why would you not play him then if he's...
Well, he hasn't even practiced.
Right. So I'm not sure. I don't know.
We've heard Dayball actually said and talked about that's the most we heard about injuries that Dayball got into, said he re-injured himself. So he didn't say, where he says he's dealing with something. He literally said re-injured.
And Dan said he hurt himself in the OTAs, hurt himself early in camp, and then aggravated it in camp. So it's been 3 times.
Right. I can't imagine you're risking a guy with no cohesion and timing with the rest of the guys, where you could just stash him for 4 weeks. This short-term IR stuff is huge, and I think it's tailor-made for where Scadaboo's at right at the moment. That's to me, you don't put a guy that's very questionable with an injury to have his first game action be a regular season game. If he was a veteran, maybe you do that. Guy's got experience. He knows what he's doing.
No, but it does factor into whether he's on the 53 at the start of the season or not, though. If he's not really hurt, anyway, that's a tough call. If they want to carry 4, if they do not want to put Scadaboo on an injury list to start the season, they've got to figure out where they're going to get that other spot. And normally it would have been the tight end. They would take a tight end away. But you and I have said, how the hell would they get the 3 tight ends? So what if they do carry 3 tight ends and we're both wrong? Then we're like, if they carry 3 tight ends, I think Manhertz doesn't make it.
I would have to say at that point,
right?
At first I was going to say no, but now I'm going to say yes. And I think it's because then I think if that happens, Chapman makes the team no matter what. Chapman is a guy that you can bring him over and throw him in as the fullback. They've been doing that during camp. They've been doing that in the game. They let him play fullback some. So when they need a short yardage run, they could put Chapman in as fullback. So that basically makes you another tight end if you want to look at it, a guy with that kind of bulk. That's how you get around that. We thought that last year, was it last year with Jakob Johnson? But then they ended up cutting that dude. Mismanagement all around that whole thing. But anyway, that combination right there is going to be very telling. The only other place you could take some away would then be the offensive line, and that's where you're going to want guys. They have to be able to play more than one position if you're going to do that.
Not anymore. They changed that. They can do it. They changed it so teams don't have to play that game anymore. You can't do it unlimited. I forget what the number. It's 2 or 1 or something like that.
I think it's 2, but I think you have to. You do it at cut down day, right? You can't do it now.
No. When you wouldn't want to do it now. So anyways, let's move on because again, because we want to keep this tight. Let's move on defense, or was there anything we didn't miss anything on offense, right? Did we?
We did wide receivers, tight ends, quarterbacks. We talked about the offensive line. I think the makeup there question will be numbers. How many offensive linemen do we keep? I'm thinking they probably go with 9.
Well, is Andrew Thomas on the 53 to start?
That's the other question. That's the other question.
So
now he would not be short-term IR, right? He's on the PUP list at the moment.
Right, he would go. I think he would just transition to.
They would just leave him on the PUP, and you wouldn't have to worry about it.
It's a different type of PUP, but it's a PUP.
But yes.
Yeah. So look, Illuminor is making it. Van Roten, Schmitz, Runyon, Thomas. Those are your starters. If Thomas is healthy, those are your starters. And again, we don't know if Thomas is going to be on the 53.
Right.
Hudson's going to make it. Marcus Bowe obviously is going to make it. I'm leaning towards Josh Ezeudu making it because he can play tackle and guard, and I've just been really impressed with him. Again, would I bet the house on he will make it? No, but I would have him on the roster. I think they're going to go with Neal, but I tell you what.
Well, see but in that scenario, right, what you just did, right?
Yeah.
Your backup center is your starting right guard.
Right. So that's why I'm starting to think maybe Schlottman might be on to something. That Schlottman might be, and I don't think that's necessarily bad. So if you have Bowe, Neal, Schlottman, Hudson, and Ezeudu, you're going with that's 5, 6, 7, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Now Thomas opens things up if he stays on the PUP.
And depending on what happens with Thomas. So if Thomas is on some injury list, that's 9. And at 9, they're going to go with 9, at least 9. The question is, do they go with 10?
Right.
10 would be tough given some of the things that we're talking about right now. If Thomas isn't ready, it makes it easier for you. And the other one is Kubis, because as you've pointed out, he's played center, but I'm starting to think that they can get him on the practice squad. But again, I don't know how this is going to play out. I would not cut Ezeudu right now. Let's see how he plays against New England. If he's a disaster against New England, maybe we're having another conversation. Right. But if Ezeudu has a really strong game for a third game in a row, right now, I feel better about Josh than I do Evan. That's where I am right now, and I feel more confident that next offseason you can resign Josh Ezeudu. Whereas Neal might, if I'm Neal, I'm kind of like I want to fresh start someplace else because everything that's happened to Neal, whether it's been his fault or not, has been bad here, and he may just want to be like, you know what, I'm out of here. I just want to go to a different team and go someplace else. And he'll be more expensive to resign too.
Agreed. Before we switch over to defense real quick, if anybody's curious, of current veteran wide receivers still available, Amari Cooper, although supposedly is retiring, Keenan Allen and Gabe Davis. Those are the 3 names.
And Davis just went to Pittsburgh.
For a visit and stuff. I would assume you start doing that as long as he can pass. They're going to need a little additional. The Steelers are doing the one thing they don't normally do, and that is they're kind of all in to win this year. A lot of the stuff that they've done is to win this season because you got 1 year with Rodgers. That's you're not getting any more than that. So that being said, let's move over to the defense.
One final thing. So if you're making a roster move, like in terms of waiver wire, what are you looking at? One position. You only get one position on offense. You're looking
on offense, just on offense. I'm looking at wide receiver.
Yeah, me too.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Yeah. All right. Defense. All right. So I'm going to sound like I'm contradicting myself here. I am as concerned as many people are about the run defense on the Giants. I've been preaching that since the end of last year. I also wasn't enamored with Shane Bowen's press conference today. I don't know if anyone saw that. Not that it was bad, but way to shoot for the moon. Did you hear what he said?
I saw a little bit. Yeah.
His goal was to make sure their goal is that the other team won't rush for more than 4 yards per carry. Let's kind of.
So we want to do a lot of 3rd and 2s.
Yeah. Let's go. Let's maybe lower that just a little bit. Anyways, I get it. I want to count. It sounds like I'm making excuses. I want to say a couple things with this game. First of all, the Giants played the Bills in the opener and held the Bills to 59 yards rushing. Again, doesn't mean a ton, but they did well. They in the 2 practices against the Jets, other than quarterback runs, could not run the ball on the Giants. Early in the game, the Giants were stopping the run, and they got to that 3rd and 8 or 3rd and 7. and they ran for the first down, and they caught the Giants in that. John, I don't know if you saw it, but I think they only played one defensive lineman.
You're absolutely right.
So we were talking about the Giants have only had 2 defensive linemen. Sometimes they only had 1 defensive lineman on that 3rd and 8 on the field. So
and I can't remember. Do you remember who the lineman was?
I should know that. I don't know who it was. It was a big dude, so I want to say it was
could be Roy Robertson Harris. I think so. But yeah, I have to go back. But they had Burns. Carter basically
small guys.
Yeah, Carter came in and was basically playing right up over the guard. And Thibodeau was on the outside of him. And then you had Roy Robertson Harris. So basically 4 linemen with only 1 true defensive lineman. And that opened it right up. Now, again, the Giants are playing very vanilla. Most teams, that would be a passing down. You wouldn't be running.
But that was my point. I'm not so sure anymore. So that's a bit of a cheap play. But when you're playing the Giants this upcoming year, we may see teams do that, though. So in a way, it's a good thing the Giants got slapped in the face with that, because they better think about that. If I'm Philadelphia and I've got that big offensive line, I'm going to be running it on 3rd and 7 if there's only 1 defensive lineman on the field. I mean, I know what you're saying,
sure,
but they got to prepare for that.
Oh, I agree. I think you would probably change up the way you stack the 3. The Giants went very straight up.
Yeah.
Here's a lighter Burns, here's a lighter Thibodeau, here's a lighter Carter, and they're all basically lined up on the line and just got taken out. Now, I will say, I think it was McFadden. I think McFadden just completely whiffed on the play. That was
people pointed out that McFadden missed a couple of I don't know if it's so much tackles, but filling the gap and being where he should have been. And it's tough to tell on some of these plays. It was interesting conversation with Shane Bowen today when he said this, when he was talking about the run defense. He specifically said what the defensive line coach. I'm freezing on his brain right now. I mean, freezing on his name. Who's our defensive line coach? Patterson, Andre Patterson. I was going to say, is it Patterson? Yeah, Andre Patterson has said this in the past too, that the defensive backs have to be in the right spot too. And he said the corners, which he seemed to be saying. By the way, I would get to this. You know what? You're going to hate this. He singled out Deonte Banks in camp for his play in run defense and forcing the. Yeah, so I thought, John's not going to.
I mean, listen, not that I hate it, but. It sounds great, but let me know when it happens in a game.
When it happens, yeah, no, I just saw when I said I wondered if you saw his press conference. The other thing too is, and he did bring this up, and I thought this before he said it. When I rewatched, so I said I watched the first 3 quarters, and I sort of fast forwarded to the 4th quarter. I didn't really. They did run late in the game when the game was out of. And they were trying to end the game. And some of the stats that they accrued, the longest run that they had was a 15-yard run. It came when they were when the Jets were running out the clock and just trying to end the game. So the stats, again, it sounds like I'm excuse making because we all saw what happened. I'm going to talk about the bad stuff. But the game stats weren't as bad as they looked if you take into account the weird 3rd and 8 thing that John and I just talked about, plus the stat padding at the end of the game when they were just trying to get the game over. That said, they have an issue when Dexter Lawrence is not in the game. And I know Cy and others have brought it up. They had this issue last year, but I think it's not a Dexter Lawrence issue. I'm not sure. I don't think it's a scheme issue. I do think it was a talent issue too last year. The question is do they have a defensive tackle that they can put next to Dexter that can help the run? I've said it over and over again. I wish they had kept Ashawn Robinson. And do they have somebody who can come into the game and give Dexter a breather? Against the Jets, it wasn't ideal. We all saw it. The Jets have a really talented offensive line. They've got 3 first-round draft picks, not including Tippmann. They've got a big, powerful, strong line, the kind of line they're going to see when they play the Eagles. And so Chapman can't hold the point of attack. He can beat you with quickness, and he can kind of just be disruptive. But when they get a couple of hats on Chapman, they can drive him back.
Oh yeah, yeah.
The same thing with Nunez Roches, who's a kind of a weird player. He's a smaller player they have playing nose tackle. sometimes he can hold the point, but sometimes you see him get washed. So when I was rewatching the plays, it was very frustrating because I would see one of the two defensive linemen doing all right, and then the other defensive lineman, whoever was in there, not doing all right. And it wasn't just on the defensive lineman. Again, the linebackers had something to do with it too. But it was very frustrating to watch, and I kept thinking, what would it have been like when Dexter was in there with Roy Robertson Harris as the two main guys, and it wasn't like I'm not playing Elijah Chapman on first down against a power running team.
No.
And that's what the Giants were doing against the Jets. So and I know it sounds like I'm excuse making, but some of it was the context. So as I was watching, I'm like, would Chapman be in the game in this situation on 1st and 10 against a power running team? I don't think he would. I'd hope he wouldn't, but that was part of my reaction to the stats.
I'll say this part, not to make an excuse. We keep talking about Jackson Dart going against other teams, and the other teams are playing very vanilla.
Right.
Well, so are the Giants defense playing really vanilla. In fact, not just vanilla, but they were doing combos of players that I thought was weird that you wouldn't really do in a game. Like
they
in a game,
very
you're not
weird
going to do
combos up front on the defensive line. They had really weird combos.
It's like I'm trying to figure out if they're trying to see if this guy, if he had to play extended time, if he can do it. And I think for Chapman, what do you think to this premise? I think the Giants are trying to find multiple ways that this guy can be on the team. Like they're trying to justify keeping him. They're playing him in a bunch of spots because he's too small to be an every down defensive lineman. He's not what we saw early on. I don't want him on short yardage. Oh my God, that's not the guy I want on short yardage. Not for the lineup that we put out there.
Right.
So to put him there, and you had him with Roaches, you had him with Roy Robertson Harris.
I don't roll out Nunez, Roaches, and Elijah Chapman as my two defensive tackles on 1st and 10.
No,
and they did that. I don't do that.
No, give me DJ Davidson, who might not get off the block, but he's going to drive his guy backwards a little bit and at least just hold the spot. Right. I don't want a guy that's going to be engulfed. Now, Roy Robertson Harris is a big dude. He got completely washed on one play. He made a couple of good plays, but he was washed out on one play that when I went back and watched, I was like, wow, he really just got moved.
I missed that. I didn't see that. I saw Elijah Chapman. Elijah Chapman to me has been one of the most disappointing players of the preseason, and it's probably unfair of me to say that because he was an undrafted free agent who was a tryout player. And Nick Flott did show a really good run defense play that he did that I completely missed, where he blew up the play. And I still can't find it in the game. I saw him tweet it out. It happened, but he completely blew up the play. But when I rewatched the game, I'm like, where the hell did that play happen?
He did one early that he absolutely blew.
Maybe that was and I missed it, but he did blow up a play. It's just not in a down after down after down basis where you're consistently doing that. So that's my concern is I get the sense Elijah Chapman's going to make the team, and kind of like what you said, they've doing the fullback thing, but I don't know what he's really done to inspire that confidence. I guess that's the best phrase. I hope I'm wrong about him. I just don't know if he's got the size to really make it in the league. I hope I'm wrong because I think he's a really cool kid. I think I'm rooting for him, but I'm still waiting for him to do something where I'm like, yes, great play. We remember that play in the preseason where he chased
I was just thinking
down the field.
Houston,
and Cy brought up last year he had one of the highest win rates as a rookie pass rusher. I just haven't seen the pass rush, and I certainly haven't seen the run defense. People are bringing up Darius Alexander, and Darius is obviously not ready. He's in there. I don't think it's been embarrassing, but he's not getting penetration. He's not getting into the backfield. I do see him getting doubled quite a bit, but he's not making any plays. I'm not writing him off. I'm not saying, again, we went through this with many other. John and I could list the defensive linemen in the New York Giants history that as rookies did nothing. So do not say I'm saying he was a bust. What I'm saying, there was a question earlier, will we get anything out of Darius Alexander this year? I don't think we're going to get anything out of Darius in the first half of the schedule, at least. I think this is a growing. I mean, I hope I'm wrong about that too, but maybe he has a great game against New England, but I haven't seen it yet. So I went back and rewatched it, and there are, like I said, there are plays where he's doubled, but he's not getting he's not making those wow plays either.
Right. Do you find it odd that there are some guys that are close to the team? I won't name any of them in particular, who've gone out of their way to talk about how amazing he's been, and he's a young guy, but he's been amazing. He's doing stuff.
Dexter did. I think Dexter said that.
Well, he's on the team. I don't count
Right.
him. So coverage, guys who are close coverage wise.
Well, you'd have to be talking about Carl Banks.
Well, that could be. I don't see it on the field yet. I mean, he's a young guy. It's maybe it's there, but he has not shown anything so far that you could look at.
The only time that I've seen his name mentioned positively, and it was on a number of plays, was the Jets practices. So the 2 Jets practices, he came up as made a sack, caused the quarterback to run for his life, that kind of thing. So I thought, oh, wow, maybe we're going to finally, and I know how good the Jets offensive line is. So I thought, hey, maybe we'll see him do something in this game. And I went back and I kept going, no. And he played a lot, he played in there. And there were some weird things in the game too. Like you caught it. Chapman came back in the game late. So that's kind of weird too. I don't know what they're going to do on the defensive line. The weirdest thing I find is when Joe Shane is interviewed about this team, he keeps talking like the defensive line is fine. He said they didn't even need to take a defensive lineman in the past draft. He said we weren't even looking for defensive line when they drafted Darius Alexander. He was just too good to pass up. And look, say what you will about the first 2 drafts. The last 2 drafts have been, so far, knock on wood, have been pretty darn good. So I'm going to give them the benefit of the doubt that they did a good job on Darius. And Darius Alexander stood out in a sore thumb to all of us on draft day. When he was still there, it was like, holy crap, Darius. When we were alive, you and I were like, well, Darius Alexander's still there. I think Cy was on with us.
Yes. When all the tackles were going, he was still sitting there.
Yeah, and he was still sitting there. So it was the obvious. I mean, Marcus Bowe was obvious. Scattaboo was obvious. I mean, so and Darius Alexander was obvious. And those were the credit to the Giants is they didn't get cute. They took the obvious player at that point. So he's got size, he's got quickness, he's got long arms, and he's got Andre Patterson. So I'm just going to tell people, just let him cook. And Dexter Lawrence was a different player after he was with Andre Patterson too. So let's not panic. But in the short term, what are they going to do on? Do you know who the top 3 rushing teams in the NFL were last year?
Well, I'm pretty sure Philadelphia is one.
Mm-hmm. Well, do you know who is number 3? Let me put it that way.
I think Washington because of Jaden Daniels. Yeah.
So our first 2 teams that Dallas. I was thinking Dallas, but two of our division opponents are 2 of the top 3 rushing teams in the NFL. We better fix this, or like people have said, including us, the pass rush isn't going to matter.
The interesting thing you just said a minute ago, though, about Joe Shane's comment, very well could also be an indicator of what they think of the defensive line in terms of what they need it to be and why we keep seeing only 2 down linemen, right? Well, we got enough in it because we don't need 6, 7, defensive linemen. We only play 2 at a time. It's kind of it was a weird comment to make because other than Dexter, you don't have proven talent. You've got an older Roy Robinson Harris that you signed. You didn't draft him, didn't develop him. He wasn't on the team before. So you don't know technically what he is or isn't until he plays. I want to SPP Williams up a little bit before mentioned, hey, I hate to say it to you guys, but last year on first down against the Vikings, it was Chapman, Nunes Roaches, and Dexter Lawrence. And what I'll say back to that is what Eric and I are talking about is the Giants roll out 2 traditional defensive linemen. I don't want one of the 2 to be Chapman. In your scenario from last year, that's 3 defensive linemen.
Right. And the other thing is look, Nunes Roaches is smaller than he's listed. He just looks smaller. And Chapman is a small guy. If you put Nunes Roaches and Chapman out there on first and second down, I'm running the ball all day. You know what's weird is this. Wink Martindale came from Baltimore with one of the top run defenses consistently in the NFL. He comes to the Giants. He has Leonard Williams. He has Dexter Lawrence. And Wink Martindale's run defense here in New York was a train wreck. It was awful. People still say Wink was better. He wasn't better. He was the same or worse. He got turnovers in his second year, in the second half of his second year, that covered up a lot of sins. but the Giants couldn't stop the run under Wink. Shane Bowen with Vrabel in Tennessee, their defenses were usually in the top tier against run defense. He comes to New York and he has Dexter Lawrence, and he still can't. Now he doesn't have Leonard Williams, but he still can't stop the run. So some of this is just weird to me. I don't understand some of this. And people say it's scheme. Wink ran the same scheme in Baltimore.
Baltimore would play 2 defensive tackles, though, that were both over 320.
Well, that's what. Remember, that's been always my big thing. You remember in the draft, I've said, if you're going to do 2 defensive linemen, then just get 2 huge, gigantic, fat guys there, and just
you got to
care about your pass rush at that point.
Especially because it's not just that you're playing the 2. If you go back and watch again, this is very vanilla. Go back and watch the Jets game. Burns and Thibodeau are playing a lot with their hand in the turf, not in the dirt, but you get the idea. They're in a down D lineman position. They're not standing up like LT and Banks back in the day of outside linebackers. They've got their hand down, and so we're playing a hybrid, basically 4-man line is what we're doing. But like what we're talking about, though, is you don't have the 2 stalwart middle guys who eat up that stuff, allowing the lighter guys. Baltimore, back when they would run their defense the way they did, they still had one of their outside guys was a suit. I mean, a lot of times it was Jihadi Ward, and then with some other guys after that. He's a pseudo defensive lineman playing on the outside, standing up. The Giants aren't doing that right now. We're playing almost like a standard 4-3, but we have linebacker-sized guys playing the outside, and you're playing smaller guys. You're playing 3 technique guys who should really be 1 technique or basically 2 noses essentially, and we're not doing that.
I would love to talk to a coach about this because, again, look, we don't know. We know 1/1000th of what even worse than that than a coach would know.
Sure,
but I would love the coach to explain this to me because I don't get it. I'm like, if you're going to do that, the other team, especially if they have a good offensive line, they're going to run the ball. Now, to the Giants' credit, tell me if I'm wrong, I've been really impressed with the run defense of Kayvon Thibodeau, Brian Burns, and Abdul Carter at the edge so far.
Agreed.
So, again, Jets, really big physical offensive line, 3 first-round draft picks, 2 at tackle. Guys, big physical guys. And when I was watching the Jets game, I was like, damn, they've got a big offensive line. Abdul Carter and Kayvon Thibodeau were doing really good. And Brian Burns blew up a play from the backside in there. So far, so good. But if I'm the Philadelphia Eagles and I've got my offensive line, I've got Saquon, and I don't want Jalen Hurts getting rushed by those guys, I'm just run. That's what I'm doing. I maybe throw a screen in there to Barkley, but I'm running the football until they can stop it.
So what was that was down a distance was what, 3rd and 8 on that one play early on that we're talking about?
3rd and 7, 3rd and 8. We had 1 defensive lineman, and again,
and it was Roy Robertson here, so I'm positive.
I didn't get really upset with that play because, number 1, it wasn't a real game. But number 2, shit like that happens when they cross you up sometimes. That was respect out of the Giants pass rush. That was kind of like, you know what? We're gonna try to cross them up and just try to pick up the first down. What sucks is they got it. But it was
where I was going to go with that, though, is that the Giants went extremely vanilla with the lineup that they put out there. They didn't do anything exotic with the lineup. They just they put the D tackle. The 3 guys were up. They would have moved them around a little bit. Somebody else would have been moving up. You would have been. You would disguise it. No matter what you were going to do, you would make it look like you're bringing a shit ton of pressure, even if you're only going to rush those 3 guys. And I think the Jets, it's an indictment on what the Giants need to improve on, even in vanilla, right? Run defense, we've been saying it forever. If I'm a Jets fan, though, I'm really concerned that you knew you weren't even going to try in preseason. You weren't even going to try to throw the ball. You weren't even going to try to work on stuff against vanilla defenses. You instead run a draw.
Paul, I remember this play. Yeah, that was a kick to the nuts. That was one of those plays where you're like, oh my God. But I think teams are going to do that this year. I think teams are going to do that because they're so afraid of the Giants pass rush, and they're gonna do that. So we better be, in a way, this could sound weird. It's a good thing the Jets did that to us because the Giants coaching staff better be ready for that. And the players better be ready for that, because if it's 3rd and 5, I'm not sure the team doesn't run a draw on us.
So with the defensive line, let's eliminate the edge guys for the moment. Who are we keeping?
That's a great question. So I was looking at the roster earlier, and I don't think we keep more than 6, right?
I don't know how you can with the way we're juggling a bunch of other stuff.
Now they have been running 3-man fronts too. So everyone who keeps saying it's scheme, there are times the Giants, and they played it quite a bit in the Bills. They were in 3-man fronts. When I say 3-man fronts, three actual defensive linemen. So they're not just running 2-man fronts all the time. So obviously Dexter makes it. Darius Alexander has to make it. He got too much invested in him. I get the sense Nunez Roches is making the team simply because he's going to be the primary backup. But again, I wouldn't bet the house on it. But again, I don't see what they see in him. That's part of my problem. I don't get it. Roy Robertson Harris obviously makes it. I would think DJ Davidson. Jordan Riley's playing very late. I don't think he makes it. Remember when I said I would be curious to see if Corey Durden was playing as early as he did against the Bills? He didn't play early against the Jets.
Yeah.
And Elijah Garcia was in there late. So my guess right now is Lawrence, Chapman, Davidson, Nunez Roches, Robertson Harris, Alexander. That's my guess. But this is another area where earlier on I had said I don't think the Giants necessarily need to look at the waiver wire. But you disagreed with me, and I think you might be right. I would keep my eyes open on the waiver wire here.
It's possible that it could be one of those conditional trade scenarios for like a 27th for a team that is going to release a guy, and so they're willing to go ahead and make a trade because you want to make sure you get them. So you make the deal. If it is, it's a veteran. It's a guy. It's a stopgap veteran kind of situation is what the Giants will be looking at. You kind of made your bed, though. That's the problem where you're at right now. You made your bed. You kind of have to lie in it.
Yeah, they're not going to find a miracle worker out there that's going to come in here and fix the situation. They early on, remember there was that DeMarcus Walker that they had brought in for a free agent visit, and that never went anywhere. He had played with Chicago, and that never went anywhere. I wonder if I just don't know where the optimism comes from, Shane, on the defensive line and the whole thing about, well, we really didn't need to draft a defensive line, because that's the one position on defense other than corner that makes me a little bit nervous right now. And I don't see it with Chapman. I hope I'm wrong with him. I'm rooting for him. Davidson is Davidson. You get some good and some bad. He's got size at least. Robertson Harris, I think, is going to be a decent player for us, but he's older. And Darius Alexander is going to take some time. So if Dexter gets hurt, this gets really scary too. And or if Dexter leaves the game, it gets really scary. Teams are going to know when Dexter's out of the lineup too. If Dexter's out of the game, they're going to be like, oh, so.
So
a couple of people keep bringing.
Yeah, I was going to bring it up.
There's an injury. He's not healthy, right?
Correct. He's not able to play at the moment. The other thing is, and this is just me personally, I don't want him on the team. Period. That dude has got some serious issues. There's something wrong with that dude.
I don't know enough about him to
he's the guy. There's some weird stuff happened with the Raiders locker room.
Oh, I know that, but I don't know.
But he's the same guy. He's the same guy in the video back in Clemson day when he grabs one dude in a pile. He just reaches down and grabs the guy in the crotch. Then he turned around and did it again to Josh Allen.
I enjoy a crotch grab every now and then myself. So anyway.
if you know the movie Robot Holocaust, the director of that is very big into that scene. So anyway, yeah, and then he did it to Josh Allen in a game for the Dolphins when they played the Bills, and that caused a big ruckus. I don't want to bring a head case into the locker room who's going to be even as a free agent on the cheap is still going to be more money than you want to spend. It's not worth it to the Giants. I mean, he's not the difference between us and a Super Bowl. I'd risk a Super Bowl to get a crazy guy. I'm not risking maybe a winning season.
I don't know how crazy he is. I mean, isn't Dexter Lawrence and him like best buddies or something?
Again, I have a friend that I would never want to be like in my home.
I hate Romanowski. Romanowski's a piece. Remember, he spit on a
spit in somebody's face. He spit in his face.
Romanowski was a piece of shit. All right, so let's go to your. Let's skip linebackers unless you want to touch on the inside linebackers and go to one of your favorites.
Well, actually, linebackers is really real quick. That's the one that Bowen's comments, and I wanted to ask you.
Seem overly inflated. Seem
Well,
overly
it's
optimistic.
not even that. It's specific to Okereke. So they talked about the switching players out and why Okereke came out and then he came back in later, which again, I don't buy that. I think that's bullshit. Why would you play your starting linebacker who you signed a big contract to, who had a bad back? Why are you playing him with third and fourth stringers late in a meaningless preseason game when you've got Jalen Hyatt on a freaking play
you're not
count?
saying he's in risk here of getting cut or traded or cut.
Hold on. I actually am absolutely going in that direction.
Oh.
There was something he said that really caught my attention. They asked about his pass defense, and he said he's getting better at it, but it must improve. And I was like, why would you say that about one of your? Isn't he a captain? Why would you talk about Okereke like that? The guy who's running he's running your defense from the middle linebacker position. You signed him to a big contract. Why would you make that comment? And it's weird that they switched out Musau, got him in. I'm beginning to think that Okereke might be the guy. You know, the Patriots would always get rid of one guy that surprised you. Lawyer Malloy was the one they cut him right before the season started. I'm beginning to wonder if Okereke might be on his way out.
That's a ballsy prediction on your part. I don't see it, but if you're right, I'll give you full.
It's just something weird.
A gold star. I appreciate
it. It's weird. Something weird's going on there, though. Something weird.
Yeah, I don't know. For those who are asking, because it was curious at the time, it was an interesting comment by Dable. They brought in Dart when they did for that one play, and then brought Wilson back in the game after that because they wanted to surprise Dart on.
Yes.
And I thought that was actually kind of cool. I never thought of that before, but he basically said, "You're up. Are you ready to go in? Like, you never know as a backup when you're going to be ready," which also kind of suggests to me maybe what John might be onto something.
He's the backup.
So I only bring that up too. All right. So do you want to again? I'm watching the clock here.
Yeah, no, we'll keep it. I think linebackers are. We know what we got.
Well, you mentioned Muasau.
He's surprising.
I'm not predicting this. If I'm McFadden, I better start tackling a little bit better because I think the coaches like Muasau. And Muasau's not some great athlete either, and he missed some tackles as a rookie as well. There was one run in particular last year where they had a big run and Muasau missed the tackle on it. But I think they like Muasau. McFadden's going to be a free agent, and I wouldn't be surprised if Muasau plays some snaps this year when they just pull McFadden at times. Depends on what happens. If McFadden plays great, McFadden has really good instincts. He's a tackling machine when he tackles, which is a weird thing to say. He says 100. He has 100 tackles the last 2 years. I think he's led the team in tackles the last 2 seasons. But he missed tackles have gone down, but he still misses too many tackles.
Right.
So he's a tackling machine that misses tackles, which is a weird thing to say, but that's who he is. And missed tackles will destroy you. So a lot of times when you say, "Oh, we don't have the defensive linemen, they're not holding up against the run," sometimes the defensive linemen kind of did what they were supposed to do. The linebacker didn't clean up where he was supposed to be. And that's what Shane Bowen was saying today when he was actually also blaming the defensive backs a little bit. He was kind of saying it's, he specifically said the defensive backs have to be there too. That being said, we all have eyes. We could see the
he was
getting pushed back.
Positional versatility doesn't just apply to offensive linemen. And keep in mind, Abdul Carter can also play inside. They can play him off the ball, and he can play inside. He played inside at Penn State.
Right.
So that gives them players. They wouldn't want to play them down in and down out. But if I need to change things up the way I'm kind of playing my defense a little bit, and I want to get my 3 guys on the field at the same time, that's how it's going to happen.
Right. And we talked about that McFadden may be the player that loses a lot of playing time because of that. So we'll see. If I'm playing a real game, all of those 3 guys are on the field to me almost all the time. I know they got to take breaks and they got to have breathers and stuff like that. But Jesus Christ, I don't want Ryan Burns and Abdul Carter sitting on the sidelines against the Commanders if it's a 3-point game. You just don't, So anyway.
Yeah. As far as the edges go, real quick, I thought Chase Ford showed quite a bit, enough that certainly puts him in contention to, at the very least, be on the practice squad. But, we're going to need backup guys after the first 3. It's kind of a free-for-all. I mean, Golston can play a little of both.
Right.
But
it depends on what they think Golston really is. If they think Golston's really a linebacker, then I think that's your 4. I think Ford's probably best bet is practice squad. I think there's enough there that makes you be intrigued. So,
Right.
yeah,
Okay.
I'd like him to get an actual sack. He's getting closer and closer, but I'd like to see him get there. But we'll see.
All right.
You and I were excited when they signed him after the draft.
Yes, exactly.
So, yeah.
Yep.
All right. So let's go to your favorite subject,
Yeah.
corner. So I thought it was very odd, and it stood out to me that Dable said Flott was only scheduled to play 10 to 12 snaps and ended up playing 18 because he was in a part of a drive that kept going. But I think it was a very impressive play. The play that he made, I think it stood out to everyone that he made on Garrett Wilson. That was a top-notch play. It doesn't matter who you are.
Yep.
I think if you could combine Cordell Flott's pass coverage instincts and desire to be really good and put him in Tay Banks's body, we would have a really good football player.
I'll give you that.
Tay Banks has the physical tools that you would drool over. He should be awesome against the run. He's a big physical guy. And the problem with Cordell is he's got these thin legs and thin arms. He's got height, but he's thin and he gets hurt all the time, and that drives you nuts. So I don't think they're in a bad position at corner. I don't know who they're going to start. My guess is they're going to go with the first-round draft pick simply because he's a first-round draft pick. But I wonder if there's people in the building that just would prefer to have Cordell in there if push came to shove. That being said, Cordell is an issue against the run too because of his lack of bulk. And that has come up before. We've seen that with missed tackles with him because it's not because he's doesn't want to. It's just he doesn't have the physical strength to be an awesome run defender.
Well, he might be what, 180 ish?
Yeah. What do they have list him at? I doubt it.
That's his bulked up weight.
Yeah.
He was like 168 when he came out of college. He was very thin. He was unbelievably thin.
When you see his legs and arms, you're like, damn. What is the Giants officially have him listed as 175?
Okay, so not even 180.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah, that's bulked up from where he came in out of college. I could easily see them doing a platoon system.
Yes.
Play, and whoever's got I hate to say the hot hand, whoever's kind of making the plays, they might run with that person more towards the end of the game. Right. But I think you could see it because one guy can't ever seem to locate the ball and tends to not get involved in stuff. The other guy tends to get hurt. So you're kind of, like you said,
what do you make of Shane Bowen saying that Tay Banks' run defense in this preseason has been great? I thought that stood out to me. I'm not saying he agree with them. Just thought I haven't seen his run defense been bad, but I don't know where that's coming. I mean,
that's the thing. That's where I was gonna go with it. I'm like, but what are you looking at? Like, I mean, again, you're playing guys, and he played later in that first game.
He played a lot in the first game.
I didn't see him throwing his body into anything.
Why was Cordell Flott on a pitch count, but Tay Banks wasn't?
I got to assume it's injury related for Flott coming off injury.
Probably.
But that play on Wilson, again, I don't want to beat a dead horse or an argument a disagreement that we've had over Banks. But that play by Flott is the reason why I really have a hard time with Banks. When your guy is going to cut across your face, your job isn't just to trail him. Your job is to stay with him. And
you're going back to that one.
No, I'm not. No, I'm not. Time out. No. Even on close into goal line plays, you've seen it before. He's had guys catch touchdown passes on him. They cut in. He's just behind them, and he's then just wrapping them up. Flott played the ball. Flott came right around and played the ball, and that's what you have to do.
With Tay Banks, I see Tay Banks is in position to make the play, but he doesn't make the play. I see it. So I don't think he's getting beat.
Well, it's the same thing, though. I mean, he's there. He just never plays the ball.
No. I don't think it's the same thing. The problem is he's in position to make the play, and he doesn't make the play. It's not like he's getting toasted down.
Have you seen him though make the play that Flott did?
No, not.
So then no, he does not make the play, period. What I'm saying is he's there. He goes with his guy. He'll get to the guy after he catches the ball. Flott played the ball.
Right.
He's play.
Right. But
Wilson's making his break. Flott is watching the quarterback, knowing where that ball's going.
But Flott can't stay healthy.
I get that. That's why I think it's going to be a platoon system.
That's the problem. So I think what happens going forward, if I had to guess, if you put a gun to my head, is this: Tay Banks starts, but he's on a short leash. That's my guess. So if Tay Banks starts having all kinds of issues, hey, Flott, you're in the game. That's my guess. What?
Because I said timeout. I got 2 left.
Oh, okay. Now the other corner, I think we're okay with the Debo. And the good news with the Flott, Flott Banks thing is they're going to have 2 guys theoretically ready, so they've got depth. That sense and not the ideal depth would we have 3 all pros. I get that. We Mark Collins out there, and we could get Everson Walls again or something. That would be.
And you still have Perry Williams. Perry Williams is great.
That would be best.
Yeah.
That being said, if one of them screws the pooch, hopefully the other guy can come in. The question to me is, who are the other guys? Does Trey Hawkins have a chance to make this team? Because he's hurt all the time. And does he even? I doubt he plays this week. So we went the entire preseason pretty much without him playing. Right? He didn't play at all this preseason.
He didn't play in the game.
So I doubt he'll play unless there's a real practice tomorrow. If he practices tomorrow, he'll probably play. Somebody's pointed out that Art Green, special teams wise, might make this team simply because of special teams, and maybe we should be paying more attention to Art Green. I thought Corey Black played okay. Cy seems to have think that the physical attributes D. Williams has might be worth at least holding on to the practice squad.
I think Corey Black has a better chance of making the team
than who? Art Green?
Than either of the other 2 guys we were already talking about. He's a draft pick. He played in the game. He played on specials. I think they.
But Art Green's been playing gunner along with Turbo, hasn't he? Hasn't Art Green been?
I mean, he might be, but the problem is he brings you nothing on defense. He's a 7-11 man. His guy is always open.
That's my question, though. I'm not sure. I mean, if he's a gunner, they might keep him.
See, there was one other guy I was going to say. I didn't want to bring it up earlier because I've been saying he's gone completely. But, man, Dallin Combre made a couple of special teams plays, and then he made that long catch down the field. You could see him
wrap up on those special teams plays. He smacked the shit out of them twice.
Yeah, but he was powering through a block as a wide receiver. I mean,
love to him that there's. I don't know if you saw the one where he walloped the guy.
Yes.
Damn, but the guy bounced off of him and kept running. But wrap up, Dallin. You need to do that. So, anyway.
But here's the thing. I still think the Giants are going to go get a veteran cornerback. I've been saying this for a while. Whether he's released or he's already out there. Asante Samuel, Rasul Douglas. Those are 2 guys that are currently not signed.
Why is Rasul Douglas still out there? That's a little odd. And not that he's great, but I would have thought someone like him would.
Was he last with Buffalo?
He was with Buffalo. So
again, some of these guys though, they choose not to go to camp. You know what I mean? Somebody might offer them, hey, come in. I don't want to go to camp. They'll show up later. And then teams tend to not get those veterans. They wait.
No, we're not talking about like Aaron Rodgers here. Rasul Douglas.
No, but I mean, if you're going to sign a low-end free agent contract, why do I want to go to camp and put up with that bullshit? I might as well just wait and take the lower money later. I mean, what difference does it make?
But so we're in agreement that on offense, wide receiver, and on defense, corner, they might be looking at maybe defensive line.
And maybe defensive line. Yep.
I just don't know who's going to shake free, and people, defensive linemen don't tend to shake free. We'll have to see what happens on that. All right. Last thing I want to mention is, because we've been giving them grief or have been scratching our head. I was super impressed with Jamie Gillen's punting especially after rewatching it. I think directional punting, he is a completely different punter than he was a couple of years ago.
Nice. Yep.
I thought he had a great. I hope that continues, because I thought his punt, I thought it was improving last year, but he had a really good game punting, and combine that with Gano in the first game with the 350-yard field goals. Granted, one went off the crossbar, but there were 350-yard field goals in a game used to be unheard of, and he did it. So I think our kicking game looks like. I don't know about our returners, who our returner is going to be, because this goes back to our Smith, Amir, or
Marset
Yeah,
Smith.
get that backwards. Marset conversation
A lot of names.
and Gunner conversation. I don't know who our returners are, but maybe Turbo even. I don't know. So
yeah, I mean a lot. So we can. I think we'll. Well, you and I will talk about it, but I think we can squeeze another one in before the game. Maybe get some, a short one of whatever's happening. But right now, how do you think they're going to play the game in terms of players? Do you think Russell Wilson's taking any snaps in his game? I have a weird feeling he's going to get a drive.
I would have thought no way in hell until the way they've handled the first two games. Now I'm not sure that he doesn't get a drive. They are not going to play. They are not going to. This is going to be it for a while. So I think I almost would give them a taste of it, and I still would play Dart quite a bit because again, my vision with Dart is at the very least you're trying to get him ready for next year. So say Wilson, say the Giants have a fantastic year, you might not see Dart again this year. If the Giants are in playoff contention, I'm not predicting that, but if the Giants, there's a chance the
That's a
Giants
different
could
video.
be if you might not see Dart again. So
Right.
you want to kind of almost have him play that much. So yeah, I won't be shocked if they go either way. I would have been shocked if you asked me this question before preseason started, but
yeah,
now they may do it.
I think the gap of time too, right? Like you're looking at
it's a huge gap.
It's and it's not like you've played a lot. You played only a couple of series against the Bills. That was done. You played this past game, but the offense didn't play a ton. They were super successful on that first drive. I think it was a little deflating after that. Kind of they got just a little of the air. You know what I mean? Because it was so easy. It just you were deep in your own end. You went. I mean, when's the last time we've seen our team go 90 yards, 90 plus yards for a score, and 80 of it in a pass play? I mean, come on.
Were you encouraged by Tyrone Tracy? I thought he ran well.
Yeah, it's size was an interesting breakdown. He thought his vision wasn't great on some of the plays.
Yeah.
I want to. I don't want Tracy to get too much because let's be honest, he was an older player coming into the league already. It's a new position though, so he doesn't have wear and tear like that. But I don't want to use him up in the preseason. He doesn't need to take a lot of big hits. Get him out of there.
But I thought he ran pretty well.
But don't fumble, and that's my big thing. Just don't fumble. Yeah, I agree.
It just sucks that Scadaboo's not here. We're going to miss out on that, but. So we'll see. But the last preseason game, I don't like my last comment on this is I think that's stupid beyond belief of the NFL to have a Thursday preseason games. I think that's especially there's so much time between now and the regular season. Don't risk the injuries and I don't understand this quick turnaround stuff. At least make it a Friday night game or something.
The benefit though, if you really want to think about it, right? We have a very high waiver claim position.
Right.
We're going to go through our game. We, as a Giants, going to go through our game. Now you can look at your roster. You're going to cut who you want to cut.
Right.
You're going to be ready to go. You get to watch all those other teams and whatever else they're doing for the next few days before cutdown. You've got days before cutdown. They're probably going to release a couple of guys early, just a few that are automatically out of here and let them go on, or a veteran who can give them an early chance to be free. That happens often. But they're going to be able to sit back. They're in a great position. If you play on Sunday and got a cut on Tuesday, that doesn't give you a whole lot of time, especially if someone – even if a guy was late in your roster gets injured, now you're having to decide who else am I going to – and you're juggling things. The Giants are going to have days to figure their stuff out.
I just don't like risking the players getting hurt too, though. That's my thing. I just don't want somebody – because it's a quick turnaround. And I know they didn't play a full game. I get that. They got to practice tomorrow, and then they got to turn around and play another game. I just don't want somebody to get hurt that normally wouldn't have gotten hurt because they played so quickly when they didn't have to play so quickly.
If you play any of the starters –
yeah.
Are there ones you specifically just will not play, period?
Well, at this point, Malik. I'm not playing Malik.
And I don't even count him because he just hasn't even been practicing.
Yeah, I mean, that
Dexter,
would be the
no.
ultimate kick in the nuts is if they played Malik in this game and he got hurt. That would be so giant.
Yeah, it would
be so.
So Dexter, no.
I don't think I'm playing Dexter.
No,
I don't think I'm playing. No. There's some guys I wouldn't tempt fate, and Brian Burns would probably be another. I think Brian Burns has a chance to be super, super good this year. And I don't think I would. So I'm almost tempted not to play I think I would play the starters more on offense if I'm playing starters. I don't think I would risk my frontline guys on defense so much. I wouldn't play Banks. Burns, Dexter, maybe not Kayvon. I'm not sure. I'm not. But
do you think teams communicate with each other before the game? Do you think they go, listen?
I don't know. I've wondered that.
We're not playing our starters, just letting you know, and then it helps you decide if you want to do yours or not. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of a gentleman's agreement. Like we're not going to do that to you.
I've wondered that. I have no idea. That'd be a fun question to ask if we ever get a coach to come on.
Yeah, I'm curious on how they handle that. For me, I think the Giants, they've been so bad the last couple of years. Started the season so bad, right? Just ineptitude all around. I got a weird feeling that they're going to want to have some of these guys play just to go. Now, I think a Van Roten doesn't need to. You don't need to play him. Illuminor, I don't know you necessarily need to play him either. But I would definitely make sure Neal gets a lot of playing time. Runyon, probably you would not have him out for very long if you did. And Schmidt, actually, quite frankly, I think I would let everybody sit on the offensive line. You can't risk it. You can't risk those guys.
Yeah.
So if you do that, then Wilson doesn't play.
We'll see. Let's talk about this when we do it. If we do a preview, so because I wanted to do this in an hour to keep it. We can't do it, John. I know people keep saying stop saying that, Eric, but damn.
I never assumed it was going to be.
I preview a game that was a couple days ago. All right. So yeah. Hey, I'd get Ray Hanley on here. I know people say no. I have a lot of questions for
I want to talk to him. That'd be great.
I would have a lot of questions for Ray. So, anyways, all right. All right. So good. My final comment. Good game. Good preseason. Be happy. There's gonna be plenty of things to be sad about later on. Just kind of be happy right now. And I'm not gonna say it because you will say you're jinxing it. But we've been fortunate too.
Oh yeah, don't say that. Yeah, no, definitely.
Yeah.
So, with that being said, like, subscribe, please. Especially subscribe is awesome if you can. It helps us, but liking it is great. That helps too. And then comment. I think we both do try to comment back when we see them as much as we can. But yeah, we'll let you know if we're going to be able to squeeze another one in before the game, and we'll catch up with you then. For status for Thursday, Paul. Yeah, I might have been a little overly optimistic, but we'll see. I could do it if Eric wants to do it. We'll talk.
Right.
And we'll see. So with that being said, like, subscribe, comment. We'll catch you guys later, and see you again on Inside BBI.